By now, you've probably heard all the advice. Just set boundaries, download a self exclusion app, let them earn back your trust. It sounds nice and it's certainly not bad advice, but it doesn't always work. Not when you're dealing with gambling addiction, and especially with modern gambling addiction. Because this isn't just a bad habit, this is an addiction with 24/7 access, infinite loopholes, and a brain that's rewired to hide, chase, and justify. So, in this module, we're going to walk through what actually helps, what doesn't, and how to set up systems that protect you, your money, and their recovery. Let's start here because this is the biggest vulnerability, and it's where most relapses start by having access to money. This also will help limit the damage should a relapse happen. For starters, remove account access to any joint bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards, etc. If they have any cards in their name only, change the phone number and email to yours so they can't reset the password, and set every alert possible. If someone is in active addiction or early recovery, they cannot have unrestricted financial access, not because they're a bad person, but because the addiction will use any open door to sneak back in. You'll have to monitor their income as well, so you'll want to change their direct deposits into a joint bank account so that you can see it and they cannot access it. This ensures their paycheck doesn't get used for gambling funds. Also, create an allowance system. Set up daily or weekly allowances, whether it be cash or a controlled debit card. Transfer funds only as needed for things like gas, lunch at work, etc. Another example would be using reloadable cards with controls. So cards like TrueLink or Greenlight offer spending controls and alerts. They can be preloaded with just enough for specific amounts while restricting ATM withdrawals and gambling transactions. Fair warning, this will probably be a fight. They'll say you don't trust me, but the truth is, trust has to be rebuilt over time with proof. Financial protection isn't control, it's a safety net that prevents larger losses and catastrophic relapses. Think of financial access like a house with 100 doors. Even if you lock the front door, they'll look for a window or a back door. So every door has to be locked. Here's how you do that. You'll want to freeze their credit with all three bureaus, so Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, so they can't open new loans or cards. Freeze your credit, which we've already touched on, and anyone else's they may have access to. Set up text and email alerts for every single transaction over $1 on all cards. Remove any digital wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, etc. And make sure your banking apps show real-time activity and check it regularly. Many banks offer instant notifications and suspicious activity alerts. Again, this isn't control, it's protection for them and for you. Here's why this all matters. I was about 7 months into recovery and I did this. I had an old job and I had an old pension account that my family didn't know about. I cashed it out. I didn't use it to gamble, but I just wanted to prove to myself and to them that I could have money and not use it. And when I got caught, I kept saying I'd close the account and transfer the money over Zelle to them. And then I made up some story about daily limits and the amount of transfers you can do in 3 days. And eventually I had to be walked into the bank and made to close the account with them and get a cashier's check and hand it over right away. These are known as addiction adjacent behaviors. That's how deep this goes. We will test boundaries even in recovery. We might have secret accounts, hiding financial information, or just keeping small pools of money that were all warning signs. Remember, we don't always relapse with a bet. Sometimes the relapse starts when we test limits or hide little things and say, they don't need to know about this one. That's why it always has to be trust but verify. Even deep in recovery, the addiction teaches gamblers to create just a little privacy with money. This isn't about moral failing, it's about a brain wired to protect its access to potential gambling funds. Verification isn't punishment. Again, most families think relapse equals placing a bet. That's incorrect. Relapse start when lies creep back in, when money doesn't add up, when behaviors shift, when excuses start stacking. Some of the early signs might look like your loved one being secretive or vague about finances. They may suddenly want more control of their paycheck. They may get defensive about micromanaging. They'll start telling half truths about how they're doing. And they'll say things like, I just want a chance to prove I can do it on my own. That's not growth. That's the addiction knocking on the door again. And once it's let in, it will burn the house down. Let's clear the air. Here's what doesn't help. Not because it's bad advice, but because it's not enough. Just use Gamban or a self-exclusion app. These tools are well-intentioned, but easy to beat. Gamblers can factory reset their phone, make a new Apple or Google account, use a different device, switch to a browser instead of the app, use a VPN to spoof their location. They're not locks, they're speed bumps. That doesn't mean this shouldn't be used, but don't expect it to fix everything. They self excluded from the casino. Again, self exclusion can work for some, but it's riddled with loopholes. Let me give you a real story. I lost my wallet once. I went to a casino. My buddy got in and then passed his ID back to me in line. Fair warning, by the way, you can get arrested for attempting to enter a casino while self excluded. But either way, I got in. It was no different than sneaking into a bar underage. Addiction finds a way. They self excluded from the sportsbook apps. Here's something 99% of families don't know. Self exclusion is tied to state licenses. So I live in Chicago. I self excluded from Illinois sportsbook apps, but 30 minutes away, I could cross into Indiana, re download the exact same app, log in, gamble again. So if you travel with someone to a state where it's legal, upon landing, make sure that they self exclude from the apps there. Why is it like this? Well, because in Indiana, it's technically linked to a different casino license. So again, the app didn't stop me, the system didn't stop me, only accountability did. They said they're sorry and they're doing better. A sincere apology doesn't change the fact that the brain is still addicted. Even the most well-meaning gambler will fall back into old patterns without structure and oversight. Addiction recovery isn't built on promises. It's built on systems, consequences, and consistent accountability over months and years. I often get asked, when do I give them more freedom? And there is no one size fits all answer, but I would say very slowly and after proof, not promises. Some timeline examples might look like this. For the first 6 months, no direct financial access ever. If they want to see account balances, show them your phone or computer. Passwords should all be changed. In the next 6 to 12 months, there can be limited access with complete visibility and strict controls. Any unexplained transactions end those privileges. And then for the next 1 to 2 years, maybe gradual restoration based on verified patterns of honesty, not just time passed. Protective systems are important. Again, it's about protection, not punishment. Maybe they get gambling full addiction access, systematically erodes. I know some people that didn't get around full access even years into 5 to 7 years into recovery. So again, start with complete financial lockdown. Look for patterns of consistent honesty and use controlled cards with limits and monitoring. For example, I didn't regain access to my accounts for 9 months, and that was only because of a divorce. And even then, I gave my sister full visibility. Because again, we don't want to hurt you, but we need help protecting ourselves from ourselves. Helping someone recover from gambling addiction is not about pep talks or forgiveness. It's about tight structure, clear rules, and relentless accountability. Will it feel extreme? Yes. Will it cause tension? Probably. Will it protect them from relapse and you from heartbreak? That's the goal, but it's not a guarantee. But it will put you in the best position to avoid all of that. In the next module, we'll walk through the treatment options that are actually out there, what exists, what's missing, and how to navigate a system that's still catching up to the reality of modern gambling. You've come this far. Let's keep going one step, one boundary, one truth at a time.